Okay, I need to get those shoes.
I like that you've come in a tux and a BB-8 typing.
I mean, why not? I mean, plus, but I am mixing the universes a little bit. But do you speak lower for the? I know that they do it, enhance it, but do you speak lower?
There's a little. They certainly whack up the bass. You know.
So you do go lower with your
totally.
voice.
I mean, and that came out of some sort of prosthetic exploration. They made some great fangs for the beast, which you see in the movie, but I wasn't actually wearing on the day. But I had them to explore, if you know what I mean. So I sort of took them away, and I was trying to figure out what would a guy who was very vain, who was suddenly being cursed with this look and been given these like hideous teeth, how would his mouth, because if you put the fangs in and you try and hide them, then your mouth ends up going quite down. Then I thought, on top of which, he's a very, very grumpy character. And so your mouth gets longer, the larynx gets stretched, and then this voice comes out that's very much deeper and kind of, he's sort of speaking from the bottom of his body.
That's awesome.
And he's also a big guy. There's a lot of resonance there. So yeah. Anyway, so that was fun to kind of discover that through the teeth. Was kind of fun, and then that obviously bled into the singing and how So yeah, there was a lot of like interesting ways into this.
Just for me as a nerd, how does it look for you on set when you're shooting something like the dance scene or the scenes when you're speaking to Emma Watson's character? I know you're on stilts, but like, are they building you out more too? How are they doing that?
What do I actually look like?
Yeah.
I mean, I am on stilts, 10 inches off the ground, carrying a sort of, I think it was about a 40-pound Lycra muscle suit.
Wow.
Grey, covered in marker dots. And it was my little face poking out of this giant thing. So, it was pretty beastly, but not like the beast that you see in the movie.
When you do the dance, though, how do you do dances on stilts?
That is a very good question, which I had to answer with my feet over the course of about 3 months dance training. We started on the ground, obviously learning the steps, and then came the day when, I had to get in the stilts. And all the while I was learning how to move in those things anyway, and learning, sort of beastly walking and stuff.
Yeah.
So that eventually became incorporated into the dance rehearsals, and Emma was a little bit terrified of me getting up on my sort of steel high heels, basically. But I didn't break her toes. So.
Oh, she stands on it with you?
No, but she's on the ground. So we,
that's cool.
They needed me in the stilts and the muscle suit for height and size difference, just to get the sort of reference. And also, if Bella's coming in and touching the beast at any point, it has to be the right kind of depth of flesh, yeah. One
thing I love about the movie, I love his smiling moments, and I think it's so cool. And I'm wondering, when you're performing that, is that something they're mimicking that off of performance capture? Are you actually doing the smiles?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the facial capture was done separately. So this is the other thing I guess it's worth mentioning, is that the body and the physical orientation is all captured on set, and we're playing the scene face to face with no interference. It's my face and her face there. Then every 10 days, 2 weeks, we'd go into a special facility, a booth that they set up. They'd spray my face with UV paint, and I would get inside this kind of, I used to call it the Tron cage. It was like
I love Tron.
I love Tron.
Yeah.
And it was this sort of UV lights that would flicker at very, very high speed, and 27 little cameras would capture just the facial performance. So they wouldn't even be looking for my orientation. I would just sort of have to imagine where I was looking in the scene, and we'd
like
have
some
the scene
Neo
for
Matrix
reference.
stuff.
It's
man.
incredible, and it's never really been used this extensively before for this kind of performance. So we would play all the scenes again. I would pretty much be sitting on my hands because they couldn't. If I moved my hands around, they'd interfere with the cameras.
Sure.
Black T-shirt, it was very French mime, except I was just my face, and so anything that I've been doing in the previous 2 weeks, whether it was yelling, talking, eating, or waltzing, I would have to do again with my face. And they would take that digital data, sort of 10,000 dot resolution of my face, which was driving that digital mask, turn it into the beast, and then map it onto the beast body that we'd puppeteered on the day. Yeah.
I do got to say though, one thing I love about filmmaking is this. Obviously, the Gaston scene is brilliant, and I'm wondering, when we hear the song in the movie, it's the recorded version you guys did in the studio. But when you do it on set, are you actually singing it live so you can get the way the throat looks as you're singing?
Yes, you have. We both come from musical theater, and there's no faking it. You can't lip sync that because you're dancing, you're sword fighting.
And I think I don't know about you, but you can tell when somebody's not really singing.
Yes.
On screen. I think if you fake it, your breath is different, your support, everything about the way you stand. If you're not singing out, like, this song is such a huge number.
Yeah.
So we sang every time, and they did micas, so no one really knows whether it was a live recording or the stuff they did in the in the studio.
It's true, and the end of the song especially, I kept changing it up, so it was all like on the day just making stuff up, just basically to get Luke to break.
Yeah.
That's all.
was
Like,
the
can you
whole
give an
point.
example of things you did to make him break?
Oh my God! What were some of the alternates for
Well,
the
the
end?
one that they went with the one that says you're illiterate, right? He did one like
G-A-S-T-T.
I think there's another T. I've never said this out loud.
I've never actually spelled it out loud before. Yes.
Because I'm illiterate. That literally made me laugh so hard. And it was perfect. It was so good. Yeah, I was geeking out because I think every movie, the hero should say, it's hero time. I mean, it's the greatest line. I think John McClane
says it twice
says
but
in the movie.
it needs to be in every film ever
The
made.
second time he says it is so sadistic.
Yeah.
Awful.
I mean, it's so awful. He's
why?
looking up at me like, please, cast on.
When you say something like that, I mean, obviously you know it's so over the top.
You
Like, do you
have-
feel slimy just saying
You
it? Like,
have, the only way to describe it is you have to completely go with it. There's no point you have to feel self-conscious about saying those lines.
Right.
The second you do, you are in dangerous water. You have to completely believe and say it with such conviction, and that's the only way I can do it and not laugh. as
Luke
well.
really did own that vanity in a way that almost came too easily. Because I was like, I couldn't keep a straight face.
he wasn't acting.
No, I was like, this is almost too
It's
good. Like, this is like
Oh,
scaring me
God.
good. But he really did, like, whether it was me or Emma, like, we would just laugh nonstop because we're like, this idea of him talking to himself in the mirror and just loving himself is just wonderful.
Yeah. I want to say thank you for this character. I think it's amazing what you've done. I think you're brilliant in this role. And, you know, I'm not going to go there with, like, the politics and stuff like that, but I do want to say to you that I think it's interesting because the movie's so subtle. And it's a beautiful, normal thing that happens in the movie. And I think it needs to be that way. And
Well, I appreciate that. I feel like the whole conversation has been sadly wildly blown out of proportion.
Agreed.
I feel like I hope that there's a time in which something like this isn't even a story.
Thank you.
And to me, there are far more controversial things in the movie, like the fact that, in my opinion, my horse hates fat people. And
Yes.
threw me off of him every opportunity he got.
I agree.
And like that, to me, was the most discriminatory thing that happened on the set. And I am pressing charges against the horse.
I completely.
Whose name, ironically, was Buddy.
He
But
was
thank you,
anything
Kevin.
but.
No, but
He
I just
was
want to say,
not a buddy.
I just want to say thank you.
I love you,
and
bud.
I
Thank
think
you.
it needs to be in normalcy. Thank you so much.
Thank
I love you
you.
guys so much.
Thank
it's so
you.
wonderful to see you guys. Thank you so much.
You're the best.
Hey, nice to
Good to
see you again.
I saw you. Last time I saw you was Miss Sloan, I think.
Yes, that's
You
right.
and Jessica
you
were
asked the
paired.
most interesting questions.
Yeah,
I remember.
it was good talking to you.
I like your BB-8
Thank you.
tie clip.
I mean, yeah. I am
rocks.
messing with universes though because I have my Deadpool socks.
Oh,
on,
yeah,
so-
yeah, that's right.
Little
We
Disney
made-
and Fox
yeah.
thing there. Yeah. I love Deadpool. Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, Washington, D.C. Well, first of all, congratulations to you. One thing I found fascinating was I was watching the B-roll footage, and when Emma was on set, she could hear your voice in certain things. Were you offset voicing it, or did you record it and then they played it?
We recorded it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
who are you talking up against?
You're by yourself. You're by yourself in
Yeah.
a recording studio, which is how a lot of animated films are done. You're by yourself in a recording studio, and you don't really. Every once in a while, you get to do a scene with someone else as the voice in the recording studio, but mostly they have to do it, on your own. Then they plug it all in.
Yeah, and I know because your characters are moving in such ways that are not human.
Yes.
And I'm like, do you find yourself doing movements?
Oh my God! Well, I was just talking to Matt Sullivan, the music producer, the other day because he reminded me at the premiere that when we were recording everything, I was always doing this. Like I just have a moment because Plumette gets to fly, and I just would be like, that would be my preparation. That I would just flap my wings in the recording studio by myself. No one knows except the vocal coach
That's
and
amazing.
everybody. Yeah.
Do you take that into account though, as to how her voice would sound if she's moving the way she is? Like, do you have to think about that?
Absolutely, I did. I
Yeah.
wanted her to have a levity and a flirtatious playfulness, that came from the feathers, really,
Yeah.
and seeing the costumes and the fact, as I say, that she flies. I wanted her to feel sort of light.
Yeah. Now, my wife absolutely loves you. She thinks you're one of the greatest singers of all time, and I completely agree with her. And I've seen footage of your Broadway productions, and it's amazing to hear your voice. And I'm wondering, when you sing for a movie versus singing for Broadway, how different is that? And if you did the singing for this on Broadway, how differently would you approach it?
Well, not too differently, because the wardrobe and Madame de Garderobe is a larger than life character. So it's not like I had to bring anything down to make a really tiny, subtle performance for the film like you normally would have to do. You know, like you would do a role like Viola Davis and what she did with Fences, what she did when she did it on the Broadway stage is not what she was going to do in the film, because you've got the
More
camera right
intimate.
there. It's
Yeah.
intimate, you know. So you usually have to bring things down. But as Stanley Tucci and I said, these are not small characters. There's nothing small about them. In fact, when I did do most of the voice work as the wardrobe, when she's not her human self, I tried to make her even feel more as light as you tried to make your character. I tried to make mine more weight down, because
Interesting.
not only she's already a large opera singer, but she comes down as she's this big wooden thing now. She's been trapped in this sort of wooden thing. So I made her more a little bit more like that, you know. And then when we become human again, then her voice lightens up and she's free.
But her main operatic moments, those like really high-pitched operatic moments that she has, do you go in her studio and just do those all day long, like so they can get the right ones? Because there's so many of them.
Yeah, I
and,
did.
and they're so awesome.
Yeah,
in
I
the
just
movie,
did them I did them a couple of times. I did them, when we were first doing the recording, and then once they had, some of the CGI done, I went back in and did some more work, and we just played with Bill Condon there. He'd say, "Okay, try one like this." I'd be like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Okay, try it like this." He's like, "Now just say something silly," so we just it was play.
Yeah.
It was a lot of play.
What is the thought process when you actually sit in the theater and you see your character moving on screen? Because the cool thing about movies, well, I guess people, they act and they sit down and see a movie, but when you're not physically doing the acting physically on screen, is it a different experience to see yourself that way?
It is quite surreal, I have to say. I saw the completed movie just 2 nights ago at the Hollywood premiere, and it was so magical to see it all. And you know that that's your voice, you know that that's somehow you, but somehow not you. I don't know. I sort of loved it. There were a lot of magical surprises for me seeing it.
Cool. It was wonderful to talk to both of you. Thank you so much for the
Thank
interview. Really
you.
good to see you, by the way.
Thank
And thank you so much for
Nice
the
to
interview.
meet you.
So I was telling you, my mom and I danced to Beauty and the Beast at my wedding.
that's so sweet.
That song has meant so much to me as growing up as a kid, because we watched the film together. So I was thinking we could FaceTime her.
Let's get her.
She has absolutely no idea.
What's her name?
Her name is Jill.
Jill.
All right, here we go. Let me pull her up here. I think what I'll do, I want to get her reaction.
Does she actually know we might call?
Oh, she has no idea that I'm calling.
I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah. No, I told her to be by her phone. That's all Mom,
This is magic.
this gentleman's name is Alan Menken, and you might know him because he wrote Beauty and the Beast, the song "Tale as Old as Time."
Sure. Oh, that's right. I'm not going to see her because you're just turning it around. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
How's everything in Washington, D.C.? We're both on camera at this moment.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Don't you love what your son has done to you here?
I love him so much, and only
I can see why you do. He's pretty cute.
She's gonna cry.
Tale as old as time,
Oh my God.
true as it can be. Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly. Just a little change.
She's crying.
To say the least, both a little scared, neither one prepared. Beauty and Jill. Oh, Jill, don't cry.
Oh my gosh, that was our mother-son wedding dance.
I know,
song.
he told me.
And Kevin was just as gentle and eloquent as the Beast was. He actually kissed my hand at the end.
Wow. Well, aren't you the good son?
Thank you so much. What a great surprise.
Well, you should be very proud of your boy. He's really made something of himself
Hey,
here.
Mom, he's
we are
written
very proud of him.
he's written some of the greatest songs of all time. Little Mermaid, Aladdin.
Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? A whole new world. Okay.
Mom, remember Aladdin? All right, Mom, I'm gonna go. I have to do an interview, but I just wanted to give you
Well,
that.
we're doing the interview
yeah,
now.
this is an interview.
Well, why don't we have Jill
want
interview
you to-
me?
Yeah, Mom, do you have a question for Alan?
Yeah, come on, Jill.
It's just a pleasure to meet you, and how you wrote such a beautiful song with a tune that I just can't get out of my head since the
Oh,
wedding
okay.
now.
Okay, well, okay, you asked, okay. Bye, Jill.
Bye, Mom. I love you.
Bye.
I love you too, Jill.
I love you too. I love you
Not
too.
as much as your son, probably.
Yeah.
But
So I think the beauty of what you do is you mix them so well together, and you have these songs that are playing as soundtrack and parts of the film, but then you have scores that lead into them. Can you talk about that balance and what elements you use as the score that leads into the songs?
Okay, that's a big question. I could take an hour talking about that, but look, my job is to go, okay, I'm going to tell this story, whatever it is. In this case, it's Beauty and the Beast, but what is the musical fabric of what I want to use? What is the musical palette? It's French, it's classical, it's brooding, but it's also has elements of music hall and a little bit of operetta. You know, we find all these elements that feel like they're right, and then you have those threads that you begin to weave with, really. And you write, the songs come first, and then you have the themes from the songs, and then you're able to vary those themes. Plus, you have something like the prologue, which happened because the story behind that is, in every film there's a temp score, and the director will just put in a piece of music. They put in Carnival of the Animals by Saint-Saëns.
Interesting.
And Jeffrey Katzenberg kept saying, I like that piece of music, I like that. I said, well, I have to, no, I like that. So finally I said, okay, I'll give you a version of that. But you weave all those together, and then also remember, a director has a huge impact on how a composer will write the score, because the director says, no, I want under this scene, I want to work against this, or I want to work with this, and they'll have a temp score. So I always say, in the beginning of the process, the composer is the king. At the end of the process, the composer is basically the maid.
That's cool. So the song is written first, and that's fascinating to me because I love that, because when I watch these films, I'm a big fan of score. I mean, I grew up on John Williams and everybody, and I mean Howard Shore, Hans Zimmer. But I love how you give us little hints of it before you get to the song, and I think that's a beautiful thing that you do. And I'm wondering, like, you know, to me, the score is the emotional driving force of a movie, and I'm sure you would agree with that. I mean, I've seen, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but they took The Shining and put happy music on it, and it changed the entire film.
Of course.
So I'm wondering, like, for you, like, it is a leading character. Are you directed by Bill as a character, almost like an actor is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, he knows my range as an actor, to use your metaphor, but I am very much working for the director in achieving what the director wants. If I really disagree with the director, you know, which almost never happens, I'll say it, we can discuss it. And generally the best idea wins no matter what, but I love the limitation of having a director say, I want it to be very minimal here. I want you to Mickey Mouse this to the, you know, to the rafters. It's fun, it's great.